Ready for an AFC West edition here of the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. With you as always, Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network, Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star. My name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB, and we've got a lot of things we want to cover here on a Friday morning. Remember, if you're catching us via the podcast, you can be a part of the conversation. Tommy Moe, president of the Juwan Taylor Fan Club, first one into the chat room today. You can be a part of that conversation. We go on Fridays at 10 a.m. Central. We will talk about whether or not the Chargers or anybody else in the AFC West is getting close to catching the Kansas City Chiefs. Can anyone challenge this team in the near future? Is Matt Nagy really the problem with the Chiefs offense? Will the Chiefs be the number one seed and get a bye in the NFL playoffs? Where's the confidence level regarding the Chiefs advancing in the playoffs? They're in. Will they advance? Did the Chiefs make the right decision when it came to drafting Xavier Worthy over Ladd McConkey? They're going to get another up-close look at Ladd McConkey. Chiefs 3.5-point favorites over the Chargers. What are the keys on offense, on defense? What are our predictions for the game? We're talking about it right now here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. One we do, like I said, each and every Friday morning at 10 a.m.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is the sports columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by David Starnes Allstate Insurance, covering all the important things in your world: home, business, life, and even the fun stuff as well. Motorcycle, boat, ATV, you name it. Get with Dave and he'll have you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call, visit them online, or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave. He'll give you peace of mind today for the things in your life most important to you. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
Here, fellas, we begin, as I said, with the AFC West. What do you think, Jeff? They're going to get a matchup here with the Chargers. Are the Chargers, are the Broncos? I don't think anyone's taking the Raiders serious. Are the Chargers or Broncos getting close to really challenging this Kansas City Chiefs team?
The Raiders almost beat the Chargers. Beat the Chiefs, and should have beat the Chiefs. They hadn't fumbled the ball away, so we can include them in some kind of weird way. But certainly if I'm the Chiefs and the Chiefs Kingdom, I'm concerned about what's happening in L.A. and Denver, because you're talking about head coach who's been to a Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl, quarterbacks who can make plays, and defenses that are legit. And when you start thinking about the Chiefs' advantage, what they've had over this division for the last, because Andy Reid's shown up and Patrick Mahomes has been around, it's been great head coaching, great quarterback play, and the defense has come around. And so I certainly feel like these teams have been building towards this point. They've found the right formula, and we're going to see it again this weekend. Denver almost did it. The Raiders almost did it. And I think the Chargers will do it.
I'm a big Jim Harbaugh fan. It's no shock there. So I feel like the Chargers are coming, and I think this is a game, Sam, where Chiefs better handle business here, because, like I said, one more offseason. They flushed out some bad contracts and older players at wide receiver. Mike Williams hadn't gone anywhere and done anything here. He's a couple stops down the road already. I think they looked at it and said, okay, this is where we got to make changes. This is not the final edition of what Jim Harbaugh's Chargers are going to look like, and they're going to make some moves this coming off season, and they're going to start adding more pieces that fit what he does. Chargers the biggest threat. Where do you put Denver? Do you give the Raiders in some weird world some hope in this mix?
Look, Jeff said it. I mean, these teams haven't figured out the quarterback and head coach combo. I think we've been able to point at, really since the Patrick Mahomes era, all of these teams we can say weak head coach or weak quarterback. And you can't say that about the Chargers anymore. I still have questions about whether or not Bo Nix is the guy. I know he's the Broncos guy, but whether or not he can become, a better than average quarterback, I will say when you talk about adding pieces for the Chargers, even though Justin Herbert signed his deal a year ago, it still only occupies 7% of the salary cap right now. Next year, that number jumps to 13.5, and then 16, and then 18.5. Like the Chargers are about to get in some quarterback salary cap territory that's going to preclude them from, making significant moves. Even if I agree with you, Soren, they will be making moves that maybe fit Jim Harbaugh's system better. Look, I definitely think the division is going to become more competitive over the next 5 years. As far as this year, I will throw out one stat that I think will surprise some people because the Chargers are 8-4 and the Broncos are 8-5. These two teams combined this year have one win against a team with a winning record. One. And you know when that win came? When they played each other in week 6. It's the only time either of these teams have beaten a team with a winning record all year. I still think these are good football teams, but the Broncos have had the third easiest schedule in the NFL, and the Chargers have had the 5th easiest. Like, they're two teams that have taken advantage of the schedule that they've had, just, as the Chiefs haven't had the most difficult schedule this year because their schedules are similar other than the first place schedule versus teams playing second and third place schedule, which will continue next year for the Broncos and Chargers. I'm just trying to put in perspective that these two teams yet have not beaten these, they've lost their games to the Ravens. They've lost their games to the Chiefs so far. They're not, beating the best of the best yet in the NFL. And I'd like to see them do that before I decide that they're in the Chiefs territory.
All right, let's cover a couple things from the chat room here. First of all, Matt says, Jeff looks like he's sitting in a foyer at church. Are you indeed on a? It does kind of look like the padding that would be on a pew. Are you in the back row of Mass or something there, Jeff? What's going on?
It's a state-of-the-art furnishing in the West Drift Hotel in Manhattan Beach. I can't tell you. The room looks pretty nice. Didn't know the back of it looked this way until I sat down, but everything else looks pretty cool. It's very hipster hotel. So
if people know Manhattan Beach,
church here.
Yeah, Manhattan Beach is in Los Angeles, so you're out at the league offices. Is that correct? Or the NFL
NFL offices,
NFL Network offices,
right down the street from the Chargers and the Lakers and the LA Kings. They all practice like about 10 minutes from where I'm sitting right now.
Okay, I like that. Also, yes, thank you, Todd, for noticing. I did run the video. I don't know if you know, I reached for the audio version only, and then went and had to scramble around, and I had to pad it with a little conversation while I went whoops. Didn't have the video quite ready. So, but thank you. I appreciate you noticing that, Todd. I did get it done. So I appreciate that very much. All right. When, if not now, when is somebody in the AFC West ready to contend? Is it as much about what the Chiefs have to do with their contracts, Jeff, as it is? I think Sam makes a very good point. They're going to really start feeling the pain of Justin Herbert's contract moving forward. That's in the equation. The Broncos aren't. Bo Nix, I mean, they can go 49er style and load up a lot of talent around Bo Nix. Is that maybe the team we should be looking at? And is it sooner rather than later as the Chiefs are going to feel some cap pain next year?
Well, I think it's sooner. I feel like next year both of these teams will be serious contenders. And I hear what Sam's saying about the schedule. That's always the first step in trying to build a championship contender, is taking advantage of, losing for a long time and then playing weak opponents. But, you look at what Sean McDermott's done in Buffalo. You look at what's happened around the league with other teams that have gotten better pretty fast. The Chiefs obviously did it when Andy Reid showed up here with Alex Smith and that group. When you have good leadership, you don't have to go out and just load up on all this talent. You can actually find, as you said, players that fit what you want to do. I mean, the thing that is scary about the Chargers is that they've got a lot of guys who were 4th, 5th round picks who are playing for them and playing well. That kid, Tarheeb Steele, who had 2 interceptions last week against the Falcons and a pick 6, is a 5th round pick. They got 2 5th round picks playing a lot of downs, a lot of reps in their secondary right now. The Buffalo Bills, you talk about, having to deal with a big contract. They got probably one of the best secondaries in football, and they're starting a 6th round pick at corner, a 6th round pick at safety, a guy they pay $3 million a year at safety, and Taylor Rapp. I mean, you can do it. And if you have smart leadership and you have talent at the right positions, it's a lot easier. To fill the voids they got to fill is not going to be as hard as it looks right now.
Real quick on this one, Matt says, is Bo Nix really legit? Jeff says, or Matt says he feels like he's, kind of Mac Jones all over again. Mac Jones did look really good that first year for the Patriots. I mean, is Bo Nix? I mean, the proof will be in the pudding years to come. But are you buying in on Bo Nix if he's a stock right now?
I think if you give Sean Payton a ball of clay and say make a quarterback out of it, he's going to be able to do a pretty good job of it. And Drew Brees, for all those who forget, was a lot like Mac Jones at the start of his NFL career, and he ended up getting with Sean Payton and working out. I'm not saying Bo Nix is going to be a Hall of Famer, but as a rookie, he's making more plays than Mac Jones was making, and he's making more of an impact than Mac Jones is making.
Okay. All right. When do you think somebody's ready to take the Chiefs out of the top spot, Sam?
Well, I don't know that any year with Patrick Mahomes as a starter, I'm going to be predicting the Chiefs to lose the AFC West division. 2 years from now is going to be interesting to me for the Chiefs because this draft class that they've had, from 2022, like they will be off their rookie deals. And so the cheap labor of, Jalen Watson and Isaiah Pacheco and Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis is gone. And that's how the Chiefs have remained competitive is they have found value in the draft, even though they're not picking at the top of every round. They're picking at the back end of every round. This last year's is an exception. This draft class that's a rookie this year, still time to improve, but they've not gotten great production out of that class yet. And so when you replace the 2022 draft class with what they've gotten in 2024, if that becomes your cheap labor, that's going to be an interesting year to me. And I think, the Chargers and the Broncos in particular, because that's also when the Russell Wilson deal becomes much more manageable for them as far as the dead money on their Broncos cap, to where the Broncos could spend some money with a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal.
Yeah.
And 23 draft too is part of that as well, with Rashee Rice being hurt and suspended now. That draft doesn't look that great either.
No. And that's, and look, and they're going to have to keep stacking good drafts on top of good drafts, right? Like that's one of the things you have to do. It's not a well, maybe it is a must, especially when you're carrying the heavy contracts. And I also think Chris Jones aging, like I think that contract was signed to win number 3, right? That's what it was, to try and put the best foot forward in winning 3 in a row. But we're going to see how that contract ages with Chris Jones and his age. When it comes to your insurance, only one place to go. It's our man, David Starnes at David Starnes Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. With David Starnes Allstate, it's not just about fender benders. Beyond traditional safeguards, enjoy perks like roadside assistance for unexpected breakdowns, transportation expense coverage when your car is in the shop, auto replacement protection to keep you on the road in style, and much more. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized, full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Parking lot problems? They've been making them disappear in KC since 1994. Don't risk accidents and liability in your parking lot. Get your lot restriped today. A brightly striped lot will cut down on accidents and keep your lot as safe as possible. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. All right, Jeff, let's talk a little bit about Matt Nagy. That is the consistent theme that no one's going to venture towards Andy Reid, right? We know everybody likes one simple fix. Get rid of this guy, and then it's all fixed. And that usually is the head coach. But when you've won 3 of the last 5 Super Bowls, they're not going to go to Andy Reid for that. They're looking elsewhere, and they're looking at Matt Nagy, right? I get that call all the time on the radio show, and people know, they've heard me say, listen, it's Andy Reid's offense. But they try to find a nuanced way as to why it's still Matt Nagy's fault. Let's entertain the idea. Is it Matt Nagy's fault that they're not better on offense?
Wasn't Sam on a plane coming back from Carolina, and they were ready to burn Matt Nagy at the stake? I think that's
after the Carolina game, it was their best offensive game.
30 points.
Yes.
So look, I don't think Matt Nagy is the reason for what's happening here. It's, I always say it, look, it's not 2020, and you're not walking out there with the same kind of weapons, with the same kind of advantages you had 4 or 5 years ago when this offense showed up and Patrick Mahomes took the league by storm. People have had years to prepare for them. They've had years to draft and sign free agents to play a certain style of defense against them. They've lost key players. Key players have gotten older. All these things have played a role in what's happening with this offense. And so it's just to say that if you replace Matt Nagy with a new offensive coordinator, one, I agree with you. It's Andy's offense. He's the one calling the plays, deciding what the plays are going to be. They talk about it, but in the day, Andy Reid is signing off on what they're going to run. It's not going to change anything. And I know it's frustrating to go through this, but every team in the NFL that's great goes through a period where they begin to decline. Go look at the greatest show on turf in St. Louis when it showed up, and go look at it after year 3 or 4. It was completely different. Things had changed. A lot of the same people were still there, but it was not as prolific as it was before. This is what happens in the NFL.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think? Matt Nagy, how much of the blame goes on him? I mean, it goes on everybody, and I agree with Jeff. I mean, I think part of it is defense. Andy Reid sat there when the 18, 19 years, and everyone's like, man, just nobody's going to catch up to you and your guys. Like, it's all cyclical. Defenses will, he had a feel for it. How much of it, though, is Matt Nagy and his role?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I really need to add anything to what you guys said because, look, I mean, it is Andy Reid's offense.
Let's talk about the number 1 seed then, Sam. Let's.
Well, we gave Andy Reid all the credit when they win the Super Bowl, but somehow it always is the offensive coordinator in question whenever their offense is struggling. And I just would like to remind people of the circumstances of this season, which is like they went in with Rashee Rice as their number 1 wide receiver into the season. They went into training camp with Hollywood Brown as their number 2 wide receiver. And Jeff's right. It's not only the fact that their number 1 option overall, Travis Kelce, is aging. They're investing less in their offense because you mentioned Chris Jones' contract, Soren. Guess where that costs you money? It's on skill position players offensively. And this left tackle, when you go, particularly this last Raiders game, I didn't think Mahomes played great against the Raiders on Friday. The left tackle didn't give the Chiefs offense a chance on several plays. And when you go back and watch just the plays that Wanya Morris is getting beat on, which is like half of them, they've got some guys open. Like that was incredibly disruptive to their offense. And I just don't know that I think that's an offensive coordinator thing. Having said that, look, I mean, coaches can improve. Sure. I mean, we've talked a lot about the fact that you watch these other teams run play action. There's a lot of success in it. I mean, the Chiefs have a lot of success in play action this year. I think they could utilize it more. That's one thing that Matt Nagy and Andy Reid can have a conversation about. There was a telling comment this week when I think it was yesterday, I asked Matt Nagy about them running the ball not as frequently against the Raiders, because obviously the run game did not have a lot of success. It was a 12.5% success rate that I mentioned on Tuesday. And so what's the balance of just trying to keep the edge rushers honest and not be able to pin their ears back, even though the run isn't working? And he said it was a tough balance, but he also said Andy does a really great job of that. Andy does a really great job of that.
Yeah.
Like all of us that cover this team, and I think the fans have a pretty good idea that this is Andy Reid's offense. That's one more guy who's involved in this telling you, like, Andy Reid has the final say on what they're doing offensively.
Yeah, for sure. Tom says, even if Rice and Brown were healthy, talking about your skill position part of the equation, the tackles would still be getting abused.
They would, but like Rashee Rice is your best answer for that because everything he runs is underneath. He had the shortest average depth of target in the entire NFL. Like, he gets open quick and you throw it to him quick and let him do the damage after the catch. Like, they don't have that option. And by the way, how many times did we see the Chiefs run bubble screens to Rashee Rice? Like, go back and watch the Atlanta game. It was a major part of their offense was just quick throw bubble screens to Rashee Rice and go get yardage after the catch. He's great at it. They don't run that play anymore because they don't have that guy anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Here, Matt said, to be honest, I'm not sure what percentage is even on Matt Nagy. I don't really know what his job duties are. And we don't know it in there. Tommy, I knew this one would come. I knew I didn't have to put it out there because somebody mentioned it. Would the O-line play be as lackadaisical? It's lackadaisical. They're not talented enough. They're lackadaisical. If Eric Bieniemy was Yossi, just asking.
He's available.
He is available. He's been let go by UCLA. His agent says that was part of the plan. It was just one and done. I mean, pay no attention to this firing.
Yeah.
That's what it was all along. And I think this one deserves at least some conversation. What exactly is there is he there for? I think he's talking about Matt Nagy. Besides keeping Andy's buddies employed, I don't know. That doesn't really apply. But the idea that why not find someone with some new ideas? Listen, I think because Andy Reid's always been the new idea guy, and he wants his people around him that know how to implement what he wants to implement. He has the plan. He has everything that he wants, and he's trained people to do it the way he wants to do it, and that's what he wants. But I do think there does come a time everybody gets old, right? Like everybody, the game kind of passes you by, whether you realize it or somebody else has to tell you. And I don't know if it's like, I think usually when you get old as a player, Jeff, you kind of fall off a cliff athletically. I don't know if it's more of an erosion than, the way we see a lot of players, just like 1 year they're pretty good and the next year they can't play. But like, could they use maybe an injection to try to get ahead of whatever the next curve is? An injection of some new ideas into this offense? Would Andy Reid even be able to function with somebody else coming in saying, let's try this, let's try this?
Yeah, that would be the bigger question. Could he have somebody in his ear who hasn't been in his universe, who would offer, conflicting ideas or, things that he hasn't thought of or he may not agree with? And one thing I'll point out here that's important to note, and when you look at the highlights or the lowlights of that last game as far as the protection goes, I keep saying this, they can call different plays. They can run different stuff. A lot of times that you saw guys getting beat, Wanye Morris getting beat just badly, they got 5 guys in protection, and they're trying to get 5 guys in the routes. And when I think about the point you're making about new ideas, when I think about some of the more prolific offenses in the NFL right now, whether it's the Bills, the Lions, the Eagles, what they're doing, I look at, and even the Ravens, protection is first and foremost on their minds. They want the quarterback to feel safe and comfortable. And maybe Andy's gotten to a point with Mahomes where he feels like he can do whatever he wants out there, call a play. If we just get one more second, it's going to really work. You're not getting those seconds anymore. And you're seeing what's happening to his productivity and his ability to affect the game. So I think they'd be better off if they went to a little more conservative passing game and did a lot more play action stuff. Soren, you're always talking about the where's the slants at, and the crossing routes. Go watch the Lions play offense. Go watch the Eagles play offense. A lot of their stuff that they're running crossing routes starts with play action fakes, and that to me is a big part of what they could be doing.
And that we've talked about it a lot, Sam. Getting under center gives you a lot more options and a lot more deception that you can put into the offense, and the Chiefs just don't seem to go down that road.
Yeah, and they're much better play action this year than they are without play action. I think it's because their running game has been so good. But that is one area to, the people that say Andy Reid just doesn't adjust. He's been the same guy for so long. Like, they are a run-first team this year. That's not easy for Andy Reid to run the ball more frequently than he passes the ball. Like, they have adjusted significantly this year. That was a major part of their answer to this too deep stuff that we've been talking about for years, was Rashee Rice in the running game. They lost Rashee Rice. They still went to the running game. Even though they lost Isaiah Pacheco, they were still running first with Kareem Hunt, a guy who spent, training camp on his couch, became the focal point of their offense. Like, they have adjusted offensively. I still go back to this all the time. This offense would look a lot different if the quarterback had hit a deep shot.
I agree. But I think the deep shot's easier to hit if you can play action.
Yeah, if you got time to throw it.
I mean, there is chicken the egg here, right?
I agree, but he's been open, and he's had time on these plays to hit them. Like, he's missing like on the deep shot.
I do think. I think you hear footsteps when you're getting hit as much as he is. You hear footsteps. You want to get the ball out. I also think with some continuity and chemistry, he wasn't bombing Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill didn't have 1,400 yards receiving in his first year. It took a little time. Now, Tyreek Hill had barely played college football and was largely a running back. So you would expect the learning curve for whatever Xavier Worthy's going to be. He should be closer to whatever he's going to be now than Tyreek Hill was in year one. But I will point out, it took some time for Patrick Mahomes or for Alex Smith. Wasn't Alex Smith with Tyreek Hill the first year? I remember. Yeah, it was. Yeah. It took a little bit of time before Tyreek Hill became Tyreek Hill, and maybe that'll happen with this team. Will the Chiefs get the bye? Are they going to be the number 1 seed, Jeff? Do you feel that they can hold off the Buffalo Bills?
No, I don't think they're going to.
Adamant, not even a chance? Would you put a percentage?
They got a chance, yeah. They got a chance, yeah. I would say probably
25%.
25%. I like the Bills.
Why with what records for these two teams then?
I think the Bills finish 14-3. Chiefs go 13-4.
So the Chiefs lose 3. The Chiefs lose. The Chiefs
go their last 5.
2 and 3. Okay.
2 and 3 down the stretch. And so I just don't see, one, how the Chiefs get through this stretch with their offensive line problems. I said it, in our last podcast, people are complaining about the left tackle. The secondary is a mess. The secondary is just as concerning. People don't see it as much because it's not as glaring and it doesn't involve Patrick Mahomes, but they got 3 guys back there who can't cover. And they got a linebacker named Boku who can't cover. They probably can't run a lot of stuff that Steve Spagnuolo wants to run anymore, just because they can't really get in the man coverage and protect Chamari Connor. Josh Williams, McDuffie's not playing as good. Teams can pick and choose in formation into who they want to target, and they got 3 or 4 guys back there they can go after. The lack of pass rush. I think the Bills come in here, beat the Rams. I think that the Lions game is a toss-up, to be honest with you, because the Lions are so beat up and they play a lot of man coverage. And so at worst, I see the Bills losing 1 more game and the Chiefs losing at least 2.
Okay, Sam, where are you at?
Well, a couple of weeks ago when we did this, I had the Chiefs because their schedule was easier. They've gone through, the reason their schedule was easier is they had the Panthers and then the Raiders as their next 2 games. Like, those 2 games are gone, and they didn't gain a game on the Bills over that time. So I've got it as just purely a coin flip right now, 50-50. And by the way, Vegas and ESPN Analytics both slightly have the Chiefs favored, to give people perspective of where this is right now. They've got the Chiefs. Vegas has Chiefs at -135 and the Bills at +110. ESPN Analytics has the Chiefs at 52%, the Bills at 44%. And there's like some weird 4% combinations with like the Steelers and whatnot. But the Bills' schedule is now easier than the Chiefs because of these last 2 weeks, because of who's no longer part of the Chiefs' schedule. So really,
and they got by that incredibly difficult game against the Niners.
I love how new information. I love how new information is like not supposed to change our mind about.
No, 100%, it is. It's just. There's been a lot of crossfire amongst us on text for those taking shots at each other's bad predictions. And Sam's been, and not that it's even bad. The 49ers have been banged up. They got more hurt. It was a snowy game. There's a lot of reason for it. But I just couldn't resist it. And I 100% agree with you. With new information, I reserve the right to change my mind. That's why I didn't jump your ass about, like, when you're like, hey, I did say this. Well, we've got new information. And
but part of this is like that the 49ers, what I thought 2 weeks ago looked still like underlying metrics was a good 49ers team. That team's no longer on the Bills' schedule. Yes, part of my reason for lowering the odds on this is that team's gone from the Bills' schedule. And now the Bills' schedule is easier than the Chiefs, like I said. And so the only reason it's still a coin flip is because the Chiefs have really what amounts to a half a game lead on the Bills.
What do you have them finishing, Sam? What's your record? How do they finish, Chiefs?
Bills? I think that the Chiefs are more likely to go 4-1 than they are 3-2. But 3-2 is definitely in the realm of possibility. And I think that the Bills probably lose 1 more, but I don't think the Bills are guaranteed to lose another football game now, because I think they beat the Rams, and they probably have a 65 to 70% chance against the Rams, and they're probably going to be about a 45% against the Lions. So that amounts to like 1 loss total.
Jeff, are you going to be at that Rams game? You're in LA right now. Are you going to
be there? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's the tricky one, right? Like, number one, the Lions are on the other side, and I think there's a look ahead. No one else believes in it. I do. So I think that makes this game a little bit tricky. And I also think division games are screwy, right? And they've got 3 of them. They should not lose at home to New England, at home to the Jets, or at New England. And they may not need the at New England game. If the Chiefs stumble a couple of times, they may be able to put that one on ice. I think it's critical, obviously, for the Chiefs to keep the pressure on the Buffalo Bills. But I think this Ram game is tricky. I think it's a tough one for them. And I think
it's a long flight out there.
It's going west. It's also a change in climate. I don't know what that does, but I know it. I know they're not outdoors and they're not indoors. They're whatever the hell. They got a tarp over the top. However you want to describe what that.
Who do you think's better, the Rams or the Seahawks?
I think the Rams are more dangerous. I think the Rams have a higher ceiling. The Seahawks may be a better team, but like on any given day, the Rams can play higher.
Yeah, look at what the Bills did going to Seattle a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I think 20. But I think the Rams can put some points on the board, and I think Buffalo is playing great complementary football. I don't think they're a great offensive team, and so if you can,
they've scored 9 30-point games. They had 9 30-point games this year.
I know, and I'm mesmerized by it. Yeah. I really am, because if you look at the parts, it doesn't add up. I don't.
Why not?
I don't see the receiver talent to be doing what they're doing. That's why Josh Allen is a runaway freight train with the MVP. It is all Josh Allen in my book.
Well, how good was the Chiefs receivers when they had the number one offense 2 years ago?
They were down. There's no doubt about it. But they had Travis Kelce, and I don't see Travis Kelce on the Buffalo Bills.
I think you can probably add up Amari Cooper and Dalton Kincaid, and find that.
But I also think. I mean, listen. I don't think you were a moron in 22 and 23 for pointing out flaws in the Chiefs, Jeff. And so, like, to now flip, like, they had problems and they could have lost. They could have not won those championships. And so to now say, well, because they won it, that's the blueprint for everybody else.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't know how you can say an offense that's second in the league in scoring has scored 9 30-point games. You can't see their offense being good.
No, it's not that I can't see it being good. I don't think like 9 30-point games, you're like, wow, this is the greatest show on turf. Wow, this is the Chiefs, with Patrick Mahomes in 2018. Wow, this is, Mike Shanahan, who had it humming with John Elway. Like, those numbers say that they're that good. And maybe 4 years from now, 5 years from now, we're going to be like, that receiver's been a 3-time All-Pro. That one's been a 2-time Pro Bowler. And we're going to look at it differently. I think they're doing some great things. I think a lot of it is complementary football. And look, I've been, those of us who play fantasy football have been on James Cook. They expected him to unleash the fury and be this great back. And I just, when I look at it, do you really look at all their skill position and go, yeah, they're just loaded. That's Marshall Faulk. He's going to the Hall of Fame. That's Isaac Bruce. He's going to the Hall of Fame. That's Torrey Holt. He's going to the Hall of Fame. Because I don't look at their pieces and say that.
I thought this was the 1 week we would not hear the phrase "unleash the fury." Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I mean, that's a fair point, but I think that's the thing. I think people look at offense and decide, well, if you don't have stars, you have a great offense. And I think what makes their offense dangerous is the depth of talent and their willingness to use it. James Cook isn't tearing it up because Ray Davis, their second-string running back, has become a pretty good weapon. They run a lot of 2 tight end sets with Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, and then they've got Amari Cooper, who's been a really good receiver in this league. They got 4 other guys who are complementary receivers, and the quarterback's a house, and the offensive line is really good.
Yeah, they protected him well too. Yeah. I mean, that's the difference between the Chiefs and the Bills. The most glaring difference is they protect their quarterback at a significantly better rate.
Yeah, so I don't see where they're weak.
None of these points.
Yeah, I can see where you're saying they're not amazing, but I don't see where they have a weakness on their offense.
Are we now buying in that beating the Cardinals, Dolphins, Jags, Jets, Titans, Seahawks, Dolphins, Colts, they did beat the Chiefs and they beat a banged up 49er team in the snow? Are we really saying that they've really truly been tested?
They beat the Chiefs.
That's the one game, though.
And they've blown out everybody else most of those teams that really matter. Okay. They lost to the Texans, by 3? The Ravens beat them up, but again, I hear your point. What you're saying is they don't have all these Hall of Fame guys, but I've seen a lot of great offenses that didn't have a ton of Hall of Fame guys. I think that their numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah. Okay. Fair point. Listen, if you have been in an accident, our friends at Northland Injury Law have always got you covered. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Sesame Wellness for all your cannabis needs. With fast, easy, and discreet delivery, you can enjoy the same deals you enjoy in-store but delivered to your home or office. Even same day. Restrictions may apply. Any questions? Let Besame's top-rated customer service team assist you. And this Chiefs season, don't miss a minute of the game with no delivery fees on game days. And when the home team wins, so do you. Use promo code 3PEAT and receive some extra free goodies with your next Besame order. Don't forget, you can still use promo code podcast25 to save 25% on your entire order for online delivery or at any of their 5 area Besame locations.
All right, let's talk about our confidence in them advancing in the playoffs, Jeff. The Chiefs in playoff games, where's your confidence level that they will advance?
Not high based off what I've seen. I mean, a lot can change in the next month. I will grant you that. You saw it happen last year, but they haven't played well in a month. And the issues they have are personnel related. It's about they don't have the right people, or the people they have been injured to get it done. I've always said this, that the most underrated part of their run the last 5 years, 6 years has been the chemistry of this team. And I can see if you're saying we need to have one more guy come in here to be the difference. They've added like 5, 6 different guys to the mix. And at some point, it's not the same team as it was last year. And that's worth recognizing. And I think also that the teams that you're going to see in the postseason are really built to take advantage of their weaknesses. I think in the next month, they're going to see 4 teams that are among the top 10 teams in the league in sacks and pressure rates. And so when you're starting to talk about, possibly not having the top seed, having to play Chargers or Broncos or the Ravens in the first round, and then having to deal with Buffalo after that or whoever else, Baltimore Steelers, I just don't see where there's an easy route for them. I can see them losing in the divisional round, to be honest with you. And I think that the farther they go, the tougher they'll be. The championship game certainly will be a tough out, but if you see them in the divisional round or even a tough matchup in the wild card round, I wouldn't be shocked to see them lose the way they're playing.
How about you, Sam? What do you think the chances are of advancing week by week in the playoffs?
The Chiefs have really made it difficult on people like us to assess their team because really since last year's playoffs started, they've become this team that is not very good over the course of the game, and they're incredible when the game's on the line late. And their quarterback is incredible when the game's on the line late. I mentioned the stat on Tuesday where they've won 5 games this year where at some point in the final 2 minutes they were favored to lose in terms of win probability models. Like 5 wins in that manner to where you could say they weren't great today and they figured it out late when it matters. Usually in these situations, like NFL history, any sports history would tell you just go with the larger sample size. And the larger sample size tells you this team's not really elite at much. They've got a lot of flaws, but it's become a really large sample size of seeing this team figure it out in the crunch time moments when they have to figure it out. I mean, last year's playoff run is, they score a go-ahead touchdown against the Bills. The Bills can't figure it out late. We know they made plays late against the Ravens to clinch that game. They have to score in the final possession of regulation against the 49ers. They have to score in overtime, and then they also score a touchdown, not just the matching field goal. And so they really have this both sides of the coin are showing Chiefs logos, and you're left to pick which side you think is more likely to show up in the playoffs. It's a really tough team to figure out. It's a paradox of a team to figure out for that reason. I think when we had initially framed this question, we said like a 1 to 10 scale. I think 5 is the floor for me. Obviously, the scale says that 10's the ceiling, and since we've seen both ends of the spectrum, I think you basically have to put it right in the middle, 7.5. And whatever DJ Humphries does over this next month has the biggest influence on whether or not that number can raise or lower.
For sure. As they sit right now, they can't win it. I don't think that they can. I think as they sit right now, they will not hold off the Bills.
Can't or won't.
As they sit right now, this team that we're looking at right now, like what we saw play against the Raiders, will not hold off the Bills. And it will not advance through 4 playoff opponents. Now, you hit on the big one. DJ Humphries wasn't out there, and DJ Humphries didn't have 5 weeks of playing, under his belt to get up to speed. That theoretically, if he stays healthy, is going to happen. They'll be a better team because of that. I am open to Josh Williams making a little bit of difference in there. I've always thought he was better than Najee Johnson, and so I'm open to that helping the secondary a little bit. I'm open to a bigger boost coming from Charles Omenihu getting more snaps and being in there and helping the pass rush. So I think there's some ceiling there on that side. DJ Humphries gives a lot of room for improvement on the offensive side, if he can solidify, if he can be at least Donovan Smith, then they're back to last year's offensive line, right? That's if he can just get there. If he can get better than that, and Donovan Smith, as you pointed out, Sam, did not great as an average tackle. If he can be average, that's even better. If he can be a little better than that, that moves him even better. Then add in Hollywood Brown, add in Isaiah Pacheco getting his legs under him, and I think the offense can get better. So what they've been the last couple of weeks, will not win a championship. Absolutely not. It's not good enough. I don't think right now they're as good as they were last year, right? And there's numbers that back.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah.
And I'll tell you the other thing that even if they get better is, what did you watch last night on Thursday Night Football? I mean, Dan Campbell's always been super aggressive on the fourth downs, but he's not screwing around, man. He is pedal to the metal. He's not. He understands. It's more like basketball now. You're not winning games 13-10, so don't wet your pants if you give up a few points because you're probably going to give them up anyway. And he was, 4 for 5 on fourth downs?
Yeah.
And salted the game away. And he is empowering all the other young coaches to stick that at the Chiefs. And more teams are seeing, do not let 15 back out there. So as that offense gets better, they're going to go more and more for fourth down. And I don't know if Andy Reid can come out of his comfort zone and start going for it like he should have had the play on 4th and 2 against the Raiders to solidify it. So I fear as much what the other teams will do to the Chiefs moving forward. They have to get better. That goes without saying. I fear that Andy Reid will not be ready to play chess when it comes to
it's the reason the Bills clinched the game against them. Otherwise, we're talking about a potential game-winning drive for the Chiefs. Look, what was funny to me about the Dan Campbell thing is all the conversation when a guy goes 4 for 5 on fourth down was about the one he missed. And oh my God, how could you go for that?
Are you talking about ESPN? Because I wanted to bash my head
everywhere. All they talked about was the fact that he missed. It's like, well, he went for it on his own 49, which gave him 7 points. He went for it before the half. It's like, which gave him 4 points. It's like 11 points were directly the result.
Yes.
Of going for it on fourth. You've got to talk about the full equation, which is Dan Campbell's strategy. I'm not going to worry about getting bit one time. It's the full. I'm creating a large sample size.
The 4 kisses are worth the 1 bite. And that's what these dumbasses don't get. They focus on just the one negative aspect of it. They don't realize that 4 times he helped his team. 4 out of 5 times he significantly helped his team, and he gets that it's not about doing it once, it's about doing it over and over again, and in the long haul we will be the better team for it. And it got compounded because Goff stumbled in handing off on the last time, and so people were rooting for their predictions. They can't bring themselves to understand about going for it, and they really wanted him to fail, and so that even gave him more ammunition to say, like, this guy, he's insane, was one of the things I heard. It's just reckless. It's math.
Psychopath was the most common word I heard.
But Soren, going back to the point you made about the Chiefs, and think about what you just said. You just rattled off like 7 things need to happen for this team to get to a higher level. And last year, they needed 2 things to happen.
No. All 7, each one of those things. It wasn't 7, it was about 5. And each one of them makes them better to a varying degree. They don't all have to happen, each one.
Okay.
More than one of them.
You need to have it. Yeah.
You need the
last year they needed
Sam. The Humphreys one is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
He has to solve the left tackle spot or they won't.
And I don't know how, again, if that's what you're counting on, and I don't know what he's going to be. None of us know what he's going to be. If that's what you're counting on is a guy who's, banged up, knee surgery, not played, coming in and solidifying that position, I think they're already like grasping at straws. I think that you're looking at last year, they had to catch the football and stop the penalties. And they found a way to do that. This is about finding guys, and you're relying on guys who've either been hurt or guys who haven't been here. And I think that's a huge risk.
But I think but I think the DeAndre Hopkins, more time in the offense. There's also room for growth there. Xavier Worthy, more time in the offense and more continuity with the quarterback. There's room for growth.
But the line's not blocking, doesn't matter, right?
I agree.
To be clear,
we all acknowledge that.
Yeah, we have the same questions about whether or not the line's going to work out. Like, we're just saying there's the opportunity, just because it's been so bad at left tackle, that there's even having the exact same questions you do about DJ Humphries, which I do. He hasn't played in 49 weeks, but the floor for him to be better than Wanya Morris and Kingsley Sumatia this year is like, it's not a high bar for him to cross.
And nor is achieving Donovan Smith level, because I liked what Donovan Smith did. He was part of a championship. He was a good addition, but he was not great. So I think there are varying degrees. And I think the skill position players, have a chance to be. I think Noah Gray's growth, but Hopkins. I think Hopkins plus more Hopkins, better Hopkins, and better Worthy can be better than Rashee Rice. With Noah Gray being better, and even Travis Kelce bumping back, I think they can get there. And I do think Hunt, when not carrying as much, plus Isaiah Pacheco can be better there. I do think there is more ceiling for the offense right now. I mean, it does hurt to not have Rashee Rice. Let's be clear. Let's not forget that.
And that's the other factor in this too, is like, when we see this team in week 17, after they've gotten through playing 5 physical games, and if they don't have a bye going into the playoffs without that, I guarantee you they're going to be tired, and someone is going to be hurt. Somebody valuable is going to be hurt.
People get hurt.
I'm just saying, like, they don't have like a period there where you're going to have even that rest period they got against the Chargers last year, reinvigorated Kelce, helped them get back, start to feel good about themselves again. There are a lot of things standing in their way.
You do have a look. I mean, this has been a thing. Like Chris Jones brought this up this week about, hey, I was after the game, like, we got to get a bye later in the season if we're going to go through this tough schedule. They do play on Wednesday. Like, they do get 4 extra days of rest after that Christmas Day game. It's not a full bye, but Andy Reid will give this team 4 days off. Like, they'll get more of a bye than a Thursday night game will provide, for example.
Yeah, but that's after the 3rd game in 11 days, though.
You can't escape that part of the schedule. Other than the fact that those other teams are going through the same thing.
Right, they're going through the same thing. The question is Chris Jones at 30 plus? Is it harder on him? Travis Kelce harder on him?
It is. The answer is yes.
Joe Tooney.
Those are the that is. I mean, they all do have to go through it, but who's it going to take the biggest toll on? Listen, let's talk about Ladd McConkey versus Xavier Worthy. Ladd McConkey's having a fine season for the Chargers. Jeff, did the Chiefs get it right? I mean, it's not just about the player; it's about the fit and the scheme of the offense. Ladd McConkey, I bring up because a lot of us here in town. I was one. I know Stephen St. John, who you go on with on A10, was a big Ladd McConkey fan. I loved him at Georgia. He's not the burner that Xavier Worthy is. No one is, at least no one that's run the 40 at the combine. Did the Chiefs blow it and not taking Ladd McConkey in your mind?
Well, he's a better player. Yeah. Now, would he have fit with what they want to do? I don't really see that with Rashee Rice already being their intermediate guy, and the style of offense that they want to play. But yeah, I mean, when you talk about Andy and the play calling and does he need new voices? That's something that I do think they probably have to consider in the offseason is maybe it's time to change our attitude towards the personnel we bring in. And I'll go back to the point I made about the Bills with Josh Allen. Yeah, those guys aren't big names outside of Amari Cooper, but they all have a skill set that complements what the other person does. That makes life easier for Josh Allen because then you can call different stuff in the course of a game. Hey, we want to go 2 tight ends. We'll just put Knox and Kincaid out there. Hey, we want to, get the ball out and bubble screen type stuff. We'll go to Shakur. We want to have a bigger body 50-50 guy to throw the ball to in the red zone. We'll go to Coleman. We want an all-purpose, all-around receiver. We got Amari Cooper. They have guys to do different stuff. And the problem with the Chiefs, as you're finding out now, is that once you get beyond the guys who they're relying upon, Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, and I'll put Kelce in there too because he's gotten older and he's averaging like 6 yards a catch, there's not much to go to. And now your quarterback's looking out there for answers when the defense is saying, okay, we know we'll take this guy away and that guy away. Go ahead and throw it to that guy because he's not going to do anything with it. Like, that's where they're getting offensively. And they need to have more options. They need to have more answers for the quarterback because it makes life easier for him.
Yeah. How about you, Sam? They miss?
Well, Ladd McConkey was the guy I projected to the Chiefs in the first round before the draft. Like, I really liked his ability to get open, and this was a team that struggled to have its wide receivers get open last year. Having said that, like, I can understand why they picked Xavier Worthy over Ladd McConkey. The question that the Chiefs are going to have to ask themselves moving forward is, do you solve what you need immediately, or do you pick the guy because you're getting 4-year contract plus the 5th-year option and just go for the best player long-term? Because, like, when you look at positional stuff beyond just, hey, this guy plays wide receiver, 71% of Ladd McConkey's snaps this year have come in the slot. Like, that's Rashee Rice's position. Half of his snaps come in the slot. It's also Travis Kelce's position. He often lines up in the slot, not actually a tight end. 41% of Travis Kelce's snaps are in the slot. So Xavier Worthy has only been able to play 30% of his. That's basically what's available in this Chiefs offense to play in the slot. Ladd McConkey is a slot wide receiver. So I can understand that they said this is something we already have in our offense. To me, though, Rashee Rice was clearly going to be suspended at some point, and Travis Kelce was aging. And so I didn't think they should have gone for just the 1 year, here's what best fits in your offense in 2024. And look, I mean, McConkey's not only having a great season, he's having a great season in like very specific aspects that, to be honest, surprised me a little bit. Like he's only 6 foot, 180 something pounds, and that has not seemed to matter at all. You know, he has forced more missed tackles than any rookie wide receiver. He's 8th in the NFL in his forced missed tackles this year. He's 11th in the NFL in contested catches this year. Like he plays much bigger than his size. As many questions as we have about Xavier Worthy's size, I think we would have been asking a lot of questions about Ladd McConkey's size in training camp too, and it just hasn't mattered. He's outperformed what his size says he should be able to play, which at least is proof that like that can be done by wide receivers. There are ways to do that. Somebody earlier here, just last point on this, mentioned that they worry about McConkey potentially getting injured. I could see why you would have that concern because he plays.
You have the same concern about Worthy.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. I could see why you could have that concern because he plays in traffic. He's smaller, but that's not a reason not to take him if you're going to take Xavier Worthy.
When it comes to your parking lot, there are no concerns. It's Gann Asphalt and Concrete. When it comes to your insurance, no concerns with David Starnes Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Covering all the important things in your world. Home, business, life, and even the fun stuff, as well as your motorcycle, boat, ATV, and you name it. Get with Dave, and he'll get you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations. North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warning. Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. I saw the predictions. Matt's tracking them. I'm still winning, by the way. 11-1. You guys 10-2. Keys to the game. Let's finish with that, Jeff. What are the keys for the Chiefs, and then who ultimately wins this game?
Well, on offense, they've got to protect. This is, again, another team that's coming in. A team that's coming in with real pass rushers. How about that? The last two teams they played didn't have the level of pass rushing that this team has. And so they got to find a way to
Crosby's a real pass rusher. He's
a real pass, but didn't have the depth of it. But the Chargers are very multiple on defense. They've been very consistent. They can cause a lot of problems. I think Derwin James, again, we know how he matches up with Travis Kelce, so that gives them the ability to do some other things against Hopkins. So they got to find some ways to run the football effectively. They got to find a way to protect Mahomes. On defense, we don't know. Losing J.K. Dobbins is a big blow to them. McConkey is banged up. He's got a shoulder injury. But I have to imagine if Aiden O'Connell can go out there with what he had and make plays in the passing game, and Justin Herbert can do that, so they're going to have to find a way to mitigate that. I said it before. Chamari Connor has been playing awful. And we talk about the corner situation, but him in the slot is an issue. And if McConkey's in the slot, he's going to be eating all day. I feel like they're going to try to throw the football a lot and make big plays, and so they got to find a way to shut that down. Got to find a way to get to Herbert. So
Sam?
Yeah, I mean, any Chiefs matchup. I mean, they could have, let's say, Kalavon Chason as an edge rusher, and you'd still have to be concerned about how the Chiefs are going to protect Patrick Mahomes. So that's always going to be number one. I will say the Chargers pass rush has not been as good as they are in name this year. They're like 24th in pass rush win rate on ESPN. I think they're 16th on Pro Football Focus. But to just
doesn't matter, Sam.
It doesn't matter. These guys have better pedigrees than Chason did, and Chason tore them up. So that's always going to be number one. To have something that's more Charger specific, they're number one in DVOA against short passes this year. And we know the Chiefs like to throw the ball short. The only reason they scored even 17 points in LA was because they finally hit a deep shot to Xavier Worthy. That's going to have to be part of your offense if you're going to have a really successful day against the Chargers. Like, you're going to have to hit on one of these because the Chiefs will guard you short. One just real quick point on the Travis Kelce, because they talk about Derwin James every time they play the Chargers about like he's some sort of Reuben Patterson, Kobe stopper. Travis Kelce has torn up the Chargers in Derwin James over his career. Even earlier this year, 89 yards. Go back to last year, 179 yards and a touchdown in a game. Previous year, 115 and 3 touchdowns. Previous year, 191 and 2 touchdowns and 104. Previous year, 90 yards and a touchdown. Like, he tears this team up. And so this, to me, needs to be another Travis Kelce game again. Like, if you're going to solve the Chargers being able to defend short, Travis Kelce has to be part of the equation.
Yeah. I'll say this, first of all, Casey Flatline, pound the like button, folks. Don't cost nothing. I would echo that sentiment. Give us the likes, the loves, the follows. Tell your friends about the Red Gold and Bold podcast. We would appreciate it. McConkey's banged up, and he was literally the only offense they had. I think the Chargers are very different without J.K. Dobbins. There's a big fall off from him to Gus Edwards, so I think the run becomes less of a threat. They become one-dimensional, and Justin Herbert does not handle the rush well. We saw that late in the game. When he has to throw, they're in trouble, right? I think they're still a work in progress, and I think they've put a lot of stuff on tape. I don't think the Chargers, I think they're very good. I think if you have mistakes, you turn it over a couple of times, you're in trouble, right? Like, I mean, that's how Jim Harbaugh's teams are well coached and will be smart. I think this is, I think the Chiefs are ready to take a step forward with DJ Humphries at left tackle. And so I will take the Chiefs to find a way. They are not going to unleash the fury. Let me take that one off the table. But I do think they'll get a few more points than they did last time. I'll take it 23-17 Chiefs. I'll go 23-17 Chiefs. Jeff, what was your number?
I got Chargers 21-17.
21-17 Chargers. And Sam?
I've got Chiefs 20-17.
20-17.
I think there's going to be fewer possessions in this game, too. I mean, when you look at it, Soren, you're right about Justin Herbert, by the way, just to put a number on that stat. Like, he's 5th highest pressure to sack ratio in the NFL. Like, he would prefer to take a sack than throw the ball up for grabs, which means you got to get home because he's really good throwing the ball against the blitz, by the way. It's just that he will take sacks. So, like, if you're going to bring pressure, it's got to get home because he'll tell you up if you're not getting home on him.
Yeah, no doubt. Listen, when it comes to your home, your auto, David Starnes Allstate Insurance has you covered. Make sure you support our great sponsors like David Starnes Allstate Insurance. You can give his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, solving parking lot problems in Kansas City for 30 years. They're online at GannAsphalt.com. Our friends at Besame Wellness. Use the promo code podcast25 to save 25% on your entire order. That's podcast25. Save 25% at Besame Wellness. And, of course, our friends at Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyer serving Kansas City for more than 40 years. Voted KC's #1 accident lawyers. We appreciate all their great support. For Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network and NFL.com, Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star, I'm Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810, WHB in Kansas City, saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Red Gold and Bold podcast.